shades, letting her go, letting her rip, letting her fly, tossing her in sideways, living the life, letting her ride, eyesight, winning to die, cross her up on the cushion, crossing the line, cause some drama and some bullshit they didn't like, and if they don't like the move, then we're ready to fly. But this is how we ride, this is how we do, riding mud, sliding up higher in the groove, don't give a damn about the cash we're spending, with the time we got we choose to play it on the go, to stay out on the run. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on a Monday, and I'm really liking, at least last week, it looked to really do diligence when we were going live at 5 o'clock, kind of that early after work hour. And hey, the work don't end for me. The work continues after I get off of here. We're going to try to maybe go 30, 45 an hour here every day at about 5 o'clock. I think that's the commitment I'm switching to here. We still got that music on the back burner, but hey, takes longer than you damn think, you damn whiteys. You don't know a damn thing about the rhythm and the blues. Stole the damn shit from B.B. King anyway. But at the end of the day, after we get off here, we're going to go sling some Uber. And I'll tell you what right now. And I don't know if everyone in the service industry can feel this. People always ask, what's the bad thing about the Ubering or this or that or any kind of job you may have that you go out there and do? And it is in the service industry. I feel like I do a decent job at doing it. But probably the biggest hurdle in the world in that industry that I have experienced is these damn, some would say the hours or the money or the tips or this, that, or the other, or maybe restaurants are slow or something like that. I simply say that the biggest problem is you damn customers. Some of y'all are some dumbasses. Like, how you gonna give me a damn address to an apartment complex and not even put the apartment number? I ain't about to sit there and text with you back and forth. I ain't going to figure it out. You know where the lobby or the main office for the apartment is, correct? Well, we're going to leave it right here, take a picture, and have a nice day. Even though it's 34 degrees and your damn sloppy-ass cheeseburger's probably going to be cold by the time you get it. But that's the price you got to pay when you make those type of mistakes, ninja. So, at the end of the day, that's the only thing I got to say about that. I got to get on to the next subject because we got to go sling it around. Some people are smart, some people are not. Some are not. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the headlines. First of all, we got this. I don't know who saw it. Put this together for everybody to help them out. ESCN, Sprint Car Media. Kind of a spin on ESPN, but maybe ESPN is coming. Where's Disney at? Although apparently there's a lot of stuff to talk. We're going to be talking about that here because Disney has to play with some of the things that have happened today. So at the top, you got Justin Fiedler, Dirt Tracker. Let's break this down. This is kind of helping the new people of the sprint car or world out there, or new people know what's going on. Who are all these guys? I hear them. What are they? So I was just kind of trying to help people recollect to see who and how to take some of these guys. See, so some people try to compare me to Dirt Tracker and Jeremy Elliott to me and Dirt Tracker, and all of us get compared. And even we got down here, old Sprint Car Hub. They all try to compare us, but I don't see it that way, and I think a lot of people have never seen it that way. Of course, talking to Justin and Jeremy, I don't talk to Justin as much as I do Jeremy, but they kind of feel the same way. And so in trying to prescribe a role in this situation as to what people or how even some of you sprint car fans could perceive us in the sprint car dirt world, and I just put Sprint Car Media here because Jeremy Elliott's a sprint car only ninja. And at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, me and Justin Fiedler, even though right now sprint car news is hot. I mean, this high limit Lucas still, it's kind of the same thing. High limit World Outlaw situation is new for the sprint car industry. We can't really entertain the late model fans right now. I mean, Gateway's coming up. I plan on being there. I mean, we could bitch and rant about the BS with Ricky Thornton Jr. not being a champion for months on months, but that's just not possible. This stuff that's happening in the sprint car world's coming at a time. Although, ninjas like me and Justin Fiedler, we'd be out here talking about both when things happen. But Jeremy Elliott is not that guy, and I see Adam Schefter, who we compared him to here, only talking about football most of the time. But then you got Scott Van Pelt and Dirt Tracker. Very good comparison, I think. His shows are kind of off script or on script, off of a script. And Scott Van Pelt's kind of like that, but he throws in a little, personal opinion every now and then. And I feel like that was a good correlation. Now, originally we had under here, we had Pat McAfee. And then somebody said, oh, that's not really you. You're more of a Stephen A. Smith guy. You're a little smarter than Pat McAfee. And I mean, at that point, I agree. I've always been compared to Stephen A. or Skip Bayless. Some people tried to say that Dirt Tracker was a Skip Bayless, but I've never seen him pound a table and give a hot take, really. Regardless, we went ahead with the Stephen A. Smith with the Chaz, especially with those shades. I did order a pair. A black anachrome version are coming in. We're getting a new set because those kind of had to be left behind. But there's your comparison. So when you go and tune into the Chaz, don't tune in and expect to hear an official report like Adam Schefter. Don't turn in and expect to hear the sprint car headlines and what's happened here recently, like Justin Fiedler and Scott Van Pelt. When you come to the Chaz, you're gonna hear some thoughts and opinions and some takes. I think that would be what most people have perceived or enjoyed about most of my videos is the takes, the thoughts, the perceptions that I'm able to place onto a scenario. Of course, you're going to hear about some of the stuff that's going on. I mean, all these ESPN shows are the same thing. You if you go and watch a full day of ESPN or FS1, whatever, every show's basically covering kind of the same things. They're just giving different takes on it all day. And there's probably 10 to 15 people per day on these networks that are giving takes about the same subjects, and they're all different, and they have conversations, and that builds the conversation within the fan bases, which builds the drama, which builds the anticipation to the next event, which I don't understand how that's not being utilized and understood in our sport and why it's being rejected. But based on the politics of the situation, I can understand why. Regardless, that's what we slotted us, or myself into, was the Stephen A., which was after like I said, originally Pat McAfee. But like, I agree, I'm a little smarter than Pat McAfee about racing than he is about sports. But we get down here to the end with Sprint Car Hub, and I struggled here because I was trying to think, what is an international television personality that delivers us information in America that everybody kind of knows? And the closest thing I could think of in that aspect was these hot-ass Mexican weather chicks that we see sometimes, and they catch our attention, and we remember them, and we never forget them because they displayed a very nice job. And now that is kind of like the only thing I can compare to, Toby Toby over here with Sprint Car Hub. Because, he's international and he tells us what the weather's like over there. And, sometimes he comes over, and that's great. I mean, I like him a lot. But that's the closest comparison. It wasn't nothing about no looks scenario. I don't necessarily think Toby's ugly or hot or anything. I'm not 100% gay. But at the end of the day, that was the greatest comparison I could get, was the weather chick from down under, which was Mexico in this situation, which for him is still down under. It's the most famous international figures that we can think in television. And I think when it comes to America, outside of the ones we like, which is our own, when we think about international, I think the hot Mexican weather girl's the first thing that comes to mind. And that's why I slotted Sprint Car Hub next to that picture. Now, look, I do want to see the fan reaction. I'm curious to know if I got close at all with these reactions here between Sprint Car Hub and everybody. Did we get even close? Where is Vanna White? I can have a W. Wow. Love Bill Rose. Bill Rose did announce for the World of Outlaws yesterday or today. I don't think anyone cares. You and Stephen A. Smith would be a great show together. Yeah, me and Kenny Wallace. I should have put Kenny Wallace on there. He just doesn't talk about sprint cars as much. Can we do a whiteboard with World of Outlaws on one side and High Limit on the other? Put the confirmation on confirmed on sides and speculate on the rest. Well, there's not too many confirmed to the High Limit series, although we're going to be getting into that today. So let's just go ahead and shift over back to what we got lined up here. These are kind of like bullet points almost, these tabs here. Something I did want to talk about in the world of relevance, back to the world of relevance. This is a post from a dirt racer who, I don't know who else saw this, but the world of college football that's happening right now. You just had Florida State go undefeated and not make it into the college bowl playoff thing. I mean, I remember when I used to watch football a lot that this was a big deal because they selected the 1 and 2 and everyone else just got screwed. Now it's moved out to a 4 in today's time. And now they're screwing people out of the 4 spot, too, because Texas just looked impressive on TV, and Alabama beat number 1 Georgia, and they put Alabama in right below Texas as the 3, both one-loss teams, I do believe. Washington and Michigan, the other teams involved. Of course, Florida State had their star quarterback go down, was with the 3rd-string quarterback this last game, looked very subpar, but is it really supposed to be what have you done for me lately or a full season? If undefeated seasons are going to be judged so amazingly, then why are you judging because of how you look at a certain particular period of that season? But this was a post that was put out by the commissioner. It's unfathomable that Florida State, an undefeated Power 5 conference championship, was left out of the college football playoff. Their exclusion calls into question the selection process and whether the committee's own guidelines were followed, including the significant importance of being an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. My heart breaks for those talented FSU student athletes and coaches and their passionate and loyal fans. Florida State deserved better. College football deserve better. So this is just a crazy storyline. How does that happen? You know, it's back to favoritism, back to the politics of the game. Now, it's okay in these other networks to call it out, but the politics of this game is pretty simple. They're making money on the streams. They're making money on the broadcast. They're making almost very, like I say, the dirt world's a very big microcosm. They're making money on excitement, and that's what they want on their screen. Anticipated matchup is Michigan versus Alabama right now in the first round. Michigan versus FSU, based on how they're playing, isn't an anticipated matchup. Therefore, more people or less people would attend, less people would gamble, less people would give a damn. Now that it's Alabama, more people are watching. The controversy of kicking FSU out adds to the drama, adds to the promotion of the event. Now everyone's tuning in to see Alabama get their ass whipped because they're in there instead of FSU, and they don't deserve it and all this stuff. And now they got headlines to talk for a week that builds around their entire sport. It's utilizing people in every aspect possible in event promotion. Even when you screw someone over significantly, like they just did FSU, it's still for the benefit of the system. And this is why some people say the system always wins. You can't beat it. And it's pretty damn sad. It is pretty damn sad how they utilize everyone against themselves. But back to utilizing everyone against themselves. This is a post that was put out. Obviously, we had these 2 guys commit to the High Limit series. You had Zeb Wise in the Routine 26. This is, I mean, I don't know who would have ever left this team out to begin with. I feel like this team is very similar to the Gravel team, where it's such an affiliation with the series and the events within the series that's where that car is going to be. Of course, Gravel, Huset's, Jackson, Billion Autumn, all those tracks on the Outlaw schedule, the cars on the Outlaw schedule, Rudine, Skagit, all their events, things going on, Rudine race, the Rudine car being on High Limit is not a big surprise to me. same situation pretty much here. Are we not going out with Kasey Kahne announcing pretty much, right? KKR, Kasey Kahne Racing, sided with Brad Sweet. Back to the politics of the situation. This is you don't have to mail in vote to rig this election so far. We already know that this is what's going to happen. These two cars being on the tour. Now, the one that is still the up in airs that nobody is for sure about now is Rico. Now, Rico is a player. Rico is a player. You'd kick out FSU to get Rico into the Final Four. He brings eyes. He brings attention. And right now, in pretty much everybody's eyes, we need somebody on the high limit side on a weekly basis to draw fans that people can think is going to outrun Brad Sweet. Because right now, I just don't see too many guys on the roster that's going to outrun Brad Sweet. I mean, Zeb Wise, you're a great race car driver. No disrespect, but you do have a few hard wrecks once or twice a year based on recent examples. And I just don't think Zeb Wise is on a Brad Sweet level right now. Not saying that can change. It's always a development. He is a young race car driver. Heck, I was at Clyde Martin when Zeb Wise won his first midget, USAC National Midget race. And it was very impressive. So, yeah, Zeb Wise, at this point, though, I just don't think people could see us challenging Brad. But Rico Abreu is one of those that most people now, once again, just like the Zeb Wise deal 2 years ago, Rico and Sweet going after one another, would that have been, would y'all have even thought that was a sellable matchup 2 years ago? But Rico's developed a little bit more. Crew's obviously meshing better now. And now you see it as a potential threat to a Brad Sweet week in and week out. It's possible. I mean, technically, Rico went toe-to-toe in a series this last year with the driver who people think is better than every sprint car driver we have. And Kyle Larson went toe-to-toe with them in the high-limit midweek series. So this is what I'm talking about. I mean, there's Francis Ngannou to the left here, Brad Sweet, even though he looks like Dennis the Menace. I'm just saying, it's Brad Sweet, and he is the Francis Ngannou of this sport, 5-time World Outlaw champion. This is where, if you want to beat him, you got to go to the high limit series to win it. And Rico, this was taken yesterday, posted at 3 o'clock Central Time. Looks like with these sheets, it looks like they're just having dinner down here. Hold on, we can actually zoom in and see what they're eating for dinner here. This is actually funny. Can we actually get down there and see what's on the menu? What is that? Beer? Let's see here. They got a board or something. They got draft. It's just all drinking. So maybe this was just like they were just saying hi. I mean, they are both in California. They could have been like, hey, well, let's just stir the shit. We're getting lunch anyway. Let's make a post. But I think for high limit's sake, Rico needs to sign. Because there's not a lot of guys out there yet. There's not a lot of guys. Who else is gonna go and do it? I mean, who's gonna do it? I mean, who's on the phone with Justin Peck? See, I think Justin Peck, if you're talking about high limit, would be a good fit, to go up in there. If he, I don't know if they can take that 13 car national. But if they can get some support with the 13 car potentially, I think Justin Peck slots into that kind of Sheldon Haudenschild role, that wild, extreme kind of driving attitude. He's sometimes a little wilder than Haudenschild, but I feel like he's a little smarter as well, or at least seems to stay clean more so than not. Than Hod can, hit a wall more often, it feels like. I don't know. We still ain't heard anything, I don't believe, on Courtney. I don't think have we heard anything on Baston, on what they're doing? They have announced that Baston and that team, the 5 car, is going to be doing another year, but what are they going to do? You obviously got Jacob Allen over there. What about Marks? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who else they could bring in. If Rico's in and Brad Sweet is there, you have the big 2. Now you need a big 3. And I think the only guy out there to maybe solidify that 3 would be a Brent Marks. Baston, even if you got him, obviously a good car, a good driver. I mean, I would slide Baston based on this year's performance a little higher as far as difficulty to beat than like a Hoddenchild or something. I would put Baston right there with the Giovanni Scelzi as far as how he's running right now. Obviously stats are gonna say a little different one way or another, but just eye test and what I've seen, I would put Baston and Gio on the same kind of tier. But when it comes to Sweet and Rico, I do think there's a little gap there. I think you could slide a Marks into there and have a big three on the high limit side. World of Outlaws big three is Gravel. I would assume Macedo now that we've seen a bunch of things going out there. And then who's your three? Gravel, Macedo, and then who's your three on that big three? Is Shots, which we ain't seen nothing. Is Shots in that third and slotted big three to go up against the high limit? I mean, that's a pretty strong big three if you can nail it with Sweet, Rico, and Marks. You know, because when I compare big threes, what I say is like, okay, if I got Sweet, Rico, Marks, and over here I got Gravel, Macedo, and who? Just say Shots. Do I think Sweet could beat those three drivers? I think that he could. Do I think Rico could beat those three drivers? I think they could. Do I think Marks could beat these three drivers? I think they could. And this is another reason as to why I say the high limit championship is the tier 1 championship. Do I think Gravel can beat Brad Sweet? I know he can't. We've got 5 years of examples. Can Macedo beat Brad Sweet? I got 5 years of examples of no, although Macedo and Gravel, they ain't been there the whole times, but hey, I'm just saying they can't. They haven't. And then, you know, obviously this mystery third person. Can you beat Brad Sweet on a consistent basis? I mean, and obviously Marks and Rico have won a lot of their starts over the last couple years to be able to say confidently that they can beat a Gravel and Macedo. And obviously, Gravel and Macedo can beat Sweet. They can beat Rico. They can beat Marks. But right now, I'm just thinking there's only a big two over on the Outlaw side of things. Who's on Gravel and Macedo's level? Schuchart? I guess you could throw Schuchart in there. 2 years ago, Schuchart for sure. He won the million this last year. So, yeah, I guess you could say that's their big three over on the Outlaws thinking about it. Gravel, Macedo, and Schuchart versus Sweet, Rico, and Marks. I mean, and I mean, that just considering the big three with Brad Sweet's championships here recently, wouldn't you say that the stronger big three is on the high limit side at that point? If we're saying Gravel, Macedo, Schuchart, Rico, Sweet, and Marks. If those were your big three that you had to pick and said which is the stronger big three, I don't know how you're not siding on the high limit side, and considering the fact that the 5-time and defending the Francis Ngannou of the sprint car industry is sitting on the high limit side of the aisle. So they're winning a championship in the World of Outlaws series that is missing Ngannou. In some people's mind, that comes with an asterisk. You come over here to high limit, however, and you're beating Rico and Marks and Sweet, and Ngannou. It sounds like you have a legitimate. I'm a tier 1 champion because I just beat the reigning champion of the world for 5 years. So it's very interesting if they can get Marks. It looks like this is a Rico done deal, but Marks makes that very strong. If they can do it. And the big three of the high limit series has a legitimate case to be made that our big three is better than your big three in our first year. And then you throw the wild card of Larson in there whenever he may race, and you definitely have a better big three or big four. Does the Outlaws have 4 at that point? Do you have another guy you could throw in there that's a Larson-esque? You going to say Donnie? Who are you going to say then? So it's pretty impressive. Obviously, the schedules both came out, and they were very impressive. But at this point, it's very interesting to see how this is going to happen. And I think, whatever drivers are going to come out by the end of the week. think Rico's going to make an announcement in some way. This ain't no contracts down here. It's a menu. But I think the menu for Rico looks like high limit at this point. And then Courtney. I mean, we're just talking about, Rico, Sweet, Marks, Larson. And then you throw Courtney in there. And then say you throw Baston in there. And you got Jacob Allen. I mean, right there with Baston. I'll put Baston above Allen a little bit personally. And then if you could, where's Elias in that? Where's Justin Peck? I still think if Justin Peck got a legitimate national chance in a solidified ride, not saying the one he's in right now isn't solidified. I mean, as far as operational, has the money, has the people to run nationally, just on the go all the time. I think Justin Peck's a contender across the country, personally. And could he do it? I don't know. I don't know where he's at right now. But anyway. That's interesting to break that down, and Marks would be the cherry on top of this scenario if Rico's signing as these pictures look. But the Tru-Outlaw schedule is very alluring. But before we get into that, we will go over here and check y'all's comments just real quick. Looks like we do have some super chats on the board as well. You can only pick one to be part of the big three to join Sweet and Rico. And if you have to pick Marks, Kofoid, or Macri, who are you taking? Very reliable source tells me that Kofoid is not going to be on the High Limit Tour. Very reliable source is telling me that Roth Motorsports will not be on the High Limit Tour. And it has to do with something around the old NSL series or something. The Roth team won it, or NST or something, and they didn't get paid for it. NST, I believe it was the right one. And they didn't get paid for it, so now they just have a thing where they don't trust, new series and a similar situation, a split series scenario. So from my understanding, the Roth cars will not be committing to the High Limit series. And that's what I'm hearing. I'm sure they'll run it. I'm sure they'll do stuff. Justin Sanders, Corey. Yeah, there's some other names. I heard Justin Sanders is going national. At least that's what Broke Joe was saying. He's got a big old ride. We're waiting to see it. But if you had to pick, I honestly would pick Brent Marks. A lot of people don't know it. He has been on the road a lot in his career. This isn't necessarily a new thing for Brent Marks if he was to go national and stay gone from PA. I mean, he did it for years. His first World Outlaw victory, I believe, was at Wilmot in Wisconsin, guys. So, especially if you go back and look at some old World Outlaw footage, like late 2019, I think it was 19 or 18, one of those years, 17, I don't even know. But Brent Marks has been on the road. I think that would be a part of the big three. I know Macary's potential is extreme. I don't know if I would put Macri. I would put Macri and Kofoid closer together than I would put Macri, Kofoid, and Marks together. Marks has won big marquee events. Kofoid and Macri have not, in my opinion, just yet. They haven't won the big ones yet. And that's crown jewels. What Brent Marks did in 2022 was it was just an amazing year, and I just think that type of accomplishment puts you on that next tier. Let's look up here a little bit more. Patrick Krob, man, that 3K Norwing car behind you looks good. I know it does look good, doesn't it? Let's see here. We got another red comment. 1999. We're throwing the big money down tonight. Wow. Jeremy Ermert says, longtime Larsonite here, longtime dirt late model fan. Don't understand why y'all are upset about 2 national series. And this is something I was saying to people the other day. Us sprint car fans, we're acting so blown away and we're embarrassing ourselves to the late model situation. Or in the late model people. Because their fans are like, what are y'all bitching about? Now, the only big difference here, Jerry Ermich, I think that's how you're saying it, Jerry Ermich, is y'all in the late model scene only have so many races per national tour. And the World Outlaw Sprint Car Series has been a 90-race tour for who knows how long. I'm sure it's fluctuated up and down. But they've been the tour, and that's every week they're racing, and sometimes in the middle of the week. They race so much that they back their schedule down and race less. And this was one of the points that Brian Carter made last year this time, where drivers are like, we want to race more and make more money. Really, it was just jealous of the late model community and Jonathan Davenport's $2 million victory and what they have been doing, and XR paying $50,000 in the middle of the week. But this is a true statement that Brian Carter said when this was happening last year, that we backed the schedule down because these guys said we were racing too much, and now they want to race more. It's always grass is greener on the other side for the world, it seems like. There's always you're never content with what you have and what you provided. But the reason, and that's a big reason as to why this is such a big difference between us and the late model world, us in sprint cars, and y'all in the late model world, or us in dirt racing, is y'all's National Series has a schedule that kind of doesn't race as much, coincides with one another. Your big marquee events like at Eldora are dirt car events. They're neither National Tours event. There are some big marquee events that are sanctioned on one side or the other, but y'all don't have, even high limits, a low number. In the sprint car world, 60 races is low number. And the World Outlaw Series, 80, whatever it is, races. I mean, the bigger difference here, and I was going to try to actually get some numbers up here. I mean, obviously, the high limit schedule is 60 races, 19 states. Getting the actual number on how many they're racing in the Outlaws, 86 nights. So 86, 60. I mean, you could just see what I'm saying. Whereas if we were to go to, like, say, Lucas Dirt, have they even released their schedule yet? I think they had. Released it. Pretty sure. I know that Eldora released their schedule today. Let's see here. I don't want to sit here and literally count on the screen, but most of the time, from my recollection, the National Late Model Series schedules have been around the 45 mark. So I mean, you can kind of I ain't gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and finger point the screen, but it's just not as long as high limits. It's just not as long. None of y'all in the late model world have a schedule like the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series. It's just y'all don't have an 86 night schedule anywhere. So that's the bigger difference, I think, in us accepting it, adapting to it, doing it at all, is that we've had a series with the World of Outlaws who's run a full year's worth of races week in and week out. Whereas the late model world, y'all have weeks in between when there's big Lucas races, weeks in between on the schedules when there's big Outlaw races. Yeah, y'all fight over dominance of event. We saw the Gopher 50 at Deer Creek go from a Lucas race to a World Outlaw race. I mean, we've seen events change sanctions, but y'all don't really step on each other's toes, and y'all have never really had just one series, at least here in recent memory, one series running every single weekend. So I think that's what is a little bit different here. And to boot, y'all have a lot more drivers. Y'all have a lot more funding. Y'all are not corporatized like the sprint car world. A lot of small business owners are funding these race teams. You have a lot of people who want to do it. The goal of a modified racer or a stock car racer is to hopefully one day be a Scott Bloomquist or a Billy Moyer. So they're putting all this money into obtaining a dirt late model career, whereas our young midget racers and micro racers are trying to spend all the money in the world to go be Cole Trickle and Kyle Larson and the generation before that did the same thing. All of our money goes into pursuing NASCAR careers and not necessarily sprint car careers. A lot of the sprint car drivers are viewed as the ones who aren't good enough to make it to the NASCAR regimes and ain't worthy of being a Cole Trickle. Y'all's icon has been intact. Whereas our icon went from Steve Kinzer to Jeff Gordon in the 90s, and our money and investment groups have went into our kids and young racers going to do that instead of into building race teams in the sprint car organizations or sprint car realm of the world, that is. So y'all structure is just way more sound, way more normal. I mean, I've seen Kyle Larson's t-shirt trailer next to Donnie Schatz in PA. It's disgusting. Lines a quarter mile for Larson, 6-7 people for Donnie. I've also seen Kyle Larson's trailer next to Jonathan Davenport and Jimmy Owens, and their lines are longer than Kyle's. So y'all actually are mentally more stable, and I think that's why y'all are able to understand and comprehend and actually produce 2 national series, mainly because you'll have enough cars, enough divisions of racing, because the or iconic positions of your sport on the racetrack haven't shifted from your racetracks to another organization's racetrack, and your fan bases are celebrating those drivers within your actual racing division, not the 1 or 2 who go to NASCAR every 10 years. So anyways, that's what I think is a big deal, or a couple reasons as to why I think it is a little bit different. But anyways, is Nicole calling later? No. Let's see here. What do you think of Lucas Late Models racing at Eagle? Will it be a good race? Are they on the schedule? I did not even see that. Are they actually on the schedule? That will be an amazing race. Dang, maybe we need to do a late model schedule day. I know there's like 20 days at East Bay to send her off. Or actually, there's a winter date at East Bay in October to send her off. Yeah, Eagle Raceway. You're right. July 15th. Is that in Tando? No. Is it? It is not in Tando. And that does say July. Yeah, so it's a month after the high limit date. I did want to talk about the schedules and if an actual Tru-Outlaw schedule would be better. I do think it would be. If you were just purely chasing money, you could go to certain areas. Like if you were doing a pure outlaw schedule and sprint cars, you would just go down to Texas at the beginning of March and not leave the South until May, basically. And then you just switch over and do different things. But now you're making me want to look at this Lucas schedule. I was going to talk about this Tru-Outlaw and how you could do 100 grand here and 200 grand here. You can go to the West Coast as a Tru-Outlaw right after Knoxville or right after Jackson and just race for 100,000 there for 2 weeks. And then when the Outlaws swing in, race for 83,000 for 2 more weeks with the West Coast swing of the Outlaws. But now you're making me want to look at this. You're really making me want to look at this. Let's look at this Lucas Oil late model schedule. So there are opening the year at Golden Isle, okay? Then a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3-day show at Ocala. Wow, that's a little different. And then a 3-day show weekend at Alltech. And then literally Saturday to Sunday at East Bay. Sunday through Saturday at East Bay. And then, of course, when that ends up, let's go over here. There's 2 things to the late model side, obviously. Where did they put their schedule out? Right here. And this is the World of Outlaw late model schedule. So let's see how they open up the year here. Let's get on down here to the schedule. Here we go. So they, of course, got that January date at Volusia. Then they come back right after the schedule we just saw end with Lucas. Where did that end up? The 10th. So they got a break from the 10th to the 23rd here at from East Bay to Golden Isle. And this is that return date in late February after opening up, almost doing the same thing as the Outlaws, opening up at Golden Isle and then coming for a later Speed Week date, similar to how the Outlaws are opening up at Volusia, taking a couple weeks, and then coming back for a later February date. And that's where the late models will be. There'll also be some dirt car nights that are not sanctioned here, I do believe, with this summer or with the, Nationals, Dirt Car Nationals. So then it's 22-23 at Thunder Hill. Let's see here. So that's March. So think about that. March, they don't race again until March. And outside that Golden Isle, pretty much both series wait, and then one goes in the southern part of the United States, the other one goes to the northern. I think that's what that was showing. Yeah, Tennessee to freaking Atomic, Ohio, really ain't much of a difference. Let's see, Port Royal, of course, these dates that are Lucas Oil might have been World of Outlaw if they would have been playing nice. Back World Racing Group playing nice. Farmer City, Florence. Let's see. Is there anything that sticks out? I mean, that Eagle date's interesting. That did definitely slip from my head of actually happening. Lucas Oil looks like they got some kind of speed week or something. Yeah, it looks like they got some kind of speed week happening. Oh, it's like a swing up to Huset's for the Silver Dollar. Okay. So they race here in July, man, look at that. Look at, if you're a Lucas Oil driver, look at July. Let me see what July looks like for the Outlaws. I mean, that's a pretty decent swing. I mean, July 4, 5, 6 at Deer Creek. That's that go for 50. Then 12, 13. 26, 20, 12, 13 is going to be within here at Sharon. That's in Ohio. So they're swinging, all the way out to the East Coast with the Outlaws in Ohio on the 12, 13 dates, where Lucas is down there at Tri-City in Missouri, and then Lucas Oil, and then Monday, Eagle, Tuesday, Shelby County, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Huset's, and then a break. And that's when the Fairbury race is at, in that break. So, see, this is kind of how they work together, not necessarily all the time, but they do, and the dates are just not as many. There's just not as many dates. They're not racing every single weekend. And it just kind of works out a little better with how they take their gaps. As you could just see there with that little example, how they're staying off of, you got Lucas Oil having the 50K Huset's race. And even though they're going to Sharon on the Outlaw schedule, they're taking the next weekend off so that Lucas Oil and all the drivers can come here and race at Huset's for the 50K. And then the next weekend, Lucas Oil is off. That way their drivers can go and race at Fairbury for the 50K. And this is how these two kind of work. And then Lucas also gives this date off of the August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd right here for Cedar Lake, another 50K. USA Nationals, one of the biggest races of the year. And they have Cedar Lake this year. The World of Outlaws do. And they're off. Lucas Oil is off for the Outlaws. And then World of Outlaws are off. Why? Because Lucas Oil has their big North-South 100. This is the same weekend as the Knoxville Nationals. Haven't went to this race just because it's been Knoxville every year. And this is the home of the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame. High Limit Racing is going to be making a trip to that. But you see how these schedules just work differently versus High Limit and the sprint cars and World of Outlaws. The egos, they're there, but they're just not as treacherous. Now, see, August, they go up against one another. August 16th, 17th, that's the topless 100. So they are going to race in Mayokata or Kade or whatever. That is definitely a tribal area up in Iowa. And see, it's still got a TBA on its win. It's a 2-day show, 10 to win Friday. Who knows what that's going to be Saturday. But that's just a little example on how the Outlaw, late models, and Lucas, work together. Like, look, there's a 3-day show. Actually, that probably does have a conflicting date. Especially some of these bigger ones, they usually keep them open. Like, let's see here. May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th for the World of Outlaw late models is 7, 7, and 35 at Mississippi Thunder. Let's see, they race on the same weekend or not? Oh, it looks like they do. Yep. They do. They actually do make a swing. Ponderosa and Florence. So sometimes the bigger shows do land on one another, but most of the time the crown jewels don't. Most of the time. Crown Jewels, Fairbury, USA Nationals. And then if we went and searched the Eldora races, like the World 100 and the Dream, neither series is on top of them. Although that is a dirt car event, which is a World Racing Group. It's a dirt car sanctioned event, which Tony Stewart could instantly drop that, and I don't think they'd get hurt that bad. So that'll be an interesting date. The late models over here, I know we had Lucas Oil going to the Eagle Raceway, but that one right there just caught my eye. Wilmot Speedway, traditionally a sprint car racetrack. Believe that's home of the IRA. And it ain't that far from Fairbury. So right after the Fairbury 50K Prairie Dirt Classic, You drive right up the street for a Monday show at Wilmot, that's going to be a badass race that then leads into Cedar Lake. So that Wilmot date, don't sleep on that one, late model fans. That's a badass racetrack. So that's one of the more, look at that, dates of the World of Outlaw side. And then in Boot Hill Speedway and Rocket Raceway Park here for World of Outlaws. These two, that Rocket Raceway is a good racetrack. Management got in there a couple years ago. It's been around for about 10 years, but it is one of the newer facilities of the Texas area. Boot Hill Speedway, the so-called home of the World of Outlaws. That's a big debate. If you go to Boot Hill in Shreveport and ask them who did the first World of Outlaw race, Devil's Bow or Boot Hill, most people would say Boot Hill held the original race, although I believe it rained out or something like that. So they couldn't technically call it the birthplace of the World of Outlaws because the event had rained out. But that's an interesting racetrack as well. Let's see if there's an Independence Motor Speedway, IMS. That's where if you go and I don't know if it's on YouTube, but it is on Facebook. Type in the Chaz Races IMS or whatever on July 4th weekend. That's where I almost won the race. Got past with one to go in my third race ever. So go check that out. It's an interesting track. Little short track. Path Valley is a big addition, I think, to this schedule as well. Going to be an early race in the year. So that's about it. Path Valley, damn good late model track. Go look up the races or videos we just did. Path Valley and the Chaz, I believe. We filmed with Zach Rhodes. The late models were there too. It was a really good show. Can't believe this has switched over into being a late model schedule looker at her deal, but hey, sometimes that just happens. So East Bay, this is Lucas's schedule, Golden Isle, and then the month off, Atomic, Brownstown, Georgetown, Hagerstown, all same old, 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 same old. All right, Eagle, Shelby County, same old, same old, same old, same old. Not trying to be disrespectful, Lucas Oil. Just saying. East Bay in the wintertime. Okay. So I would say me personally, I'm not a diehard late model fan. Diehard late model fans like, same old, who the hell you think you are? Muskegum County's badass. But I'm just saying, I feel like every time I look at the Lucas Oil schedule, I see very similar things. Now, obviously, this is going to change next year with East Bay having their final race in the wintertime. But as far as late models are concerned, I'm definitely a little more intrigued, or my eyes catching more of the dates over here on the World of Outlaw side, for sure. Yeah, especially that Wilmot date. I mean, they got some good ones. The Southern Swing there at the end of the year, Rome. Maybe they'll get a race in at Sonoya one of these years. But anyways, yeah. That I'm a little more intrigued by the World of Outlaw late model. Let's see here. Let's get back over to the chat. Oh, we haven't got another super chat. We're gonna have to keep on moving by. Keep on moving by. To say the high limit series is the top series is laughable. At best, it's the junior circuit, i.e. the USFL, XFL in comparison to the NFL. Not at all. You're completely wrong and completely idiotic. I don't ever see, if Tom, great idea. We should go and see this. So you're telling me right now, if Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Brock Purdy just went to the XFL, that would be a comparison. But that's never happened. First of all, racing is opportunity-based. A lot of the glamorification of these drivers' abilities is somewhat manufactured. So what I mean by that is we think all these outlaws are so badass because they've had the money to race on the outlaw tour and compete. I mean, who knows how good some of these all-star guys are, like a Peck or some of these other dudes who ain't got no opportunities. They could be a Gravel. They could be a Macedo. They just ain't got the money or opportunity. But then you literally have the dominator of the World of Outlaw tour, the Tom Brady or modern era Ngannou Brady, who's dominated the series, has went to high limit. You got Rico, who every time he shows up to the Outlaws is whooping some outlaw ass, and Brent Marks potentially, who's showing up and whooping some outlaw ass, and Kyle Larson, who people think is just so much better, he'd win every race in the world if he was there. And that's the high limit roster versus Macedo, Gravel, and who? Macedo, Gravel, and who? When I say who you putting up against Sweet? Who you putting up against Rico? Who you putting up against Marks? Who you putting up against Larson? So this is not USFL to XFL. You don't have 32 teams with rosters full that have went through a actual grading process on how good they play the game or measure out. There's no such thing like that in racing, period. NASCAR drivers are touted to the country as the best drivers in the world, and they're all just lucky, opportunistic drivers. They're the best of the rich and opportunity-based. Even somebody like Kyle Larson needed things to fall in the right spots to be able to do well. Hell, he was getting kicked out because he wasn't good enough in the Ganassi car. 6 wins in 6 years, they thought he wasn't good enough. Gets into another ride that's funded better, and then he kicks their ass. So everything's judged and based on what opportunities you're provided, and that could be said for even the opportunities here in sprint car racing. You know, look at where Rico was 2 years ago. He switched it around. Things changed. Opportunities here, there, crew chiefs, whatever. So there is no comparison in calling high limit the XFL or USFL. It's just not possible. Because the greatest players of the NFL are not leaving. Because if that was to happen, if you had Mahomes and Josh Allen and these higher profiled NFL players just go to another league, then you could have that discussion. And then it would be an actual discussion, because that's actually what just happened. I'm just saying. Once again, it's a manufactured idolization to even call the World Outlaw roster better sprint car drivers than everyone else. I'm not going to sit here and act stupid as to think, just like I've said all the time, there's Kyle Larson's racing at different areas and different sectors of the country, that there's guys just as good as Gravel and Macedo in them, not with the same level of standard. Like, I would put Peck in a year or two against those guys, and most people right now would be like, that's insane. How could you say that? Well, I know that Justin Peck has done some amazing things. He just ain't been on this stage and had opportunity. There's some other guys, Justin Sanders, there's regional, local guys who you could say that about, who could really shine on a national level if the national opportunity was given. So I think there's a lot of stars within the sprint car industry that can be taken and marketed above World Outlaw racers instantly. First of all, I think whoever bridges the gap to the actual public society is going to win this thing outright, and they'll be the new NFL. We are figuring out who's going to be the NFL of sprint car racing through this battle here. Because I think the bridge is going to have to be crossed to reach those normal people of the world where the money and the sponsors and the real opportunity is. And that's, whoever does that is going to be going down in history as the victor. The victor tells the story, you know. So, I mean, who knows though? They may outlaw, you know, motorized vehicles. Although, once again, sprint cars were protected if they outlaw motorized vehicles, especially if it's about carbon monoxide, because our vehicles are carbon-free emissions. We run on methanol, which utilizes zero petroleum. Thinking about that. Zero carbon emissions is a sprint car. 25 NASCAR drivers are just money delivery. Yes, are okay. Maverick Series is interesting. Good series to gain experience and make some chips, possibly. Flow interview starting. Watch the interview. Okay, that's cool. How many high-limit Lucas companion shows are there? I only saw the one at Golden Isle. I'd have to go down there and get a little closer. Look at the end of February date for Lucas with high limit. Yeah, it seems like that's the only one. USMTS is heavy in Texas this year. High limit at Golden Isle at the same time as Lucas. The problem with modifieds, USMTS is amazing, but the problem with modifieds is they just look slow on streaming. It's their biggest problem. In person, you don't have that problem, but in streaming, which is where you're going to get people to watch you and tune in and travel to see you, USMTS modifieds just look like they're going slow motion, guys. It's sad, but it's true. Any rumors on the title sponsor for High Limit? NOS Energy as the title sponsor of World of Outlaws is detrimental because It's like the hillbilly monster and doesn't help expand 410 racing to the mainstream. Ooh. Somebody is smart today. Well, there we go. Somebody actually has a little wherewithal on where they're going and projecting the sport. Is that not the truest damn statement you've ever heard in your life? Ladies and gentlemen, NOS Energy, as the sponsor of the World of Outlaws, is detrimental because it's like the hillbilly monster. Is it not, though? I mean, isn't that fair to say? It's like you go into the inner cities and you don't see no NOS. But you go out into the woods a little bit, you go to that little 7-Eleven at the cratchet end of a store, or a little broken down ass Sinclair on the edge of town, you might find you a NOS. You might. That's a pretty good point. That's a pretty good point. Texas is the hotbed this year for traveling series. Well, maybe. I don't think so. I think Texas Motor Speedway's got some big problems. Hopefully somebody's shopping to get the dirt from Devil's Bow, or you're going to have the biggest travesty in professional auto racing you've seen in a long time next year at TMS. I don't think that... I mean, I think they'll have they got 2 months of solid racing in the region of the South. There's not a strong local 410 presence. There's not a weekly 410 presence. It'll influence guys to build some 410 sprint cars, but if you're talking about the sprint car deal, yeah, it may give them something to look forward to. NOS is everywhere in Ohio. Well, I mean, that doesn't discount what this guy said. I think anybody who's been to Ohio knows that the statement of it's like the hillbilly monster and the statement of NOS is everywhere in Ohio makes perfect sense. I mean, there's hillbillies in every corner of Ohio. Every corner. I buy that. Last weekend, 360 show at Volusia was a clown show at best. The 360 show at Volusia was disgusting. I don't know who's helping World Racing Group put on shows. I've tried to contact them about I want to do a 305 Speed Week down there in Florida. That's what I'd like to do. Get a couple races together for the 305 Sprint Car Division. Throw them on a Volusia, throw them on Hendry County, throw them as a support class to some of these events. They could probably even do a full show on their own. That's what I'd like to do. Get the 305s down there. I'd do a hell of a better show and promotion and all that than whatever that was at Volusia. I've heard nothing but disgustingness, but I guess that promotes the track, you know. Controversy sells. Let's see here. Evening Chaz from Team JRCA Posse. Okay, let's see. I don't know why Roth would put both cars on one tour. Why race against your own car? I'm hearing that's a one-car deal. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that's a one-car situation. I'm hearing it. I don't know if it's true. On the grapevine, I'm hearing it's a one-car situation. The Roth Motorsports deal. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but let's just say the other guy may be going somewhere else. Oh, God. I can't believe I got so many messages at once. Wow. That was different. What do you think of... Okay, we already saw that one. Why do World of Outlaw sprint car drivers get their asses kicked in bull rings in California? Explain, Chaz, or should I call bats? It's pretty simple. I mean, the World of Outlaw sprint car... Here's something that the World of Outlaw sprint cars have been. They have been the best race cars and mechanics and people who are doing it week in and week out every single week. They have the best mechanical horses. They got the best horse drivers or horse riders. That's debatable. But they got the best horses. And when you put horses on a thoroughbred track, most of the time that horse can make up for that rider. But when you put them horses on that short track, that horse can't do as much as you think anymore. It can't just outrun the competition. That rider has to start doing some work to keep up on the short track. And the riders, they're good at riding. But when they got to drive, when they got to race on those quarter miles, they're in trouble. Some of them are in trouble. That horse can't make up for all their mistakes like it can on that big old half mile. And that's why I think that's something I will say about that Texas race. When we go to Kennedale Speedway Park, World of Outlaws may have been having it easy at Devil's Bowl. Oh, they may have been having it easy on the big half mile in Texas. But when you go to KSP, Kennedale Speedway Park, you go to Big O Speedway and RPM Speedway, buddy, World of Outlaws may get their ass beat down there in Texas. And High Limit. High Limit, the World of Outlaws may get their ass whooped by some locals. And some threes. I think there's some guys down there with some 360s that could whoop the Outlaws on those tracks, because those quarter-mile tracks in Texas, they ain't like California's, freaking off-road rink. It ain't just a freaking jumping and rutting and all that. Down there in Texas, it becomes a glassy, slick ice rink. Those tracks are going to be ice rinks. A little bit of a cushion at KSP, but it's right on the edge of some ice. And those guys down there, you don't need that 410. You don't need it. You don't need it. And I just think that you're going to hear more. You're going to hear more than just the bull rings of California where the Outlaws are getting their asses handed to them. I think come April next year, after March and everything's done with the Outlaws down there, they're all going to get their ass. Y'all ain't ready for it. There're going to be some drivers probably come out of retirement, been waiting on y'all to get on a real racetrack in Texas for 45 years or something. They're going to come out of retirement just to whoop y'all's ass on those little short tracks that they know they could have kicked y'all's ass on all these years. Where's Gary Wright's number? Somebody call up Gary Lee Meyer. Hell, Tim Crawley's got a chance down there. Get him down there. Jake Buback, where you at? Oh, John Carney. John Carney's probably going to put it to their ass. There's some boys down there that are going to hurt your feelings, Outlaws. And High Limit. Y'all are getting on real racetracks in Texas. Y'all are in trouble. Gotta throw them elbows in Cali. They don't like to race that way. Chaz, Volusia 305 week, and a few support shows at Hendry or Bubba 55 car fields. I know, I want to put it on. We might have to put it on without any sanctioning, without any help. We may have to do that, and I'll race every race so we can get some views. Chet leaving USAC, any chance going to High Limit? I don't know if Chet Christner's going to High Limit. It does seem like it could be the best fit, though. It does seem like it could be the best fit outside of moi, the Chaz, taking everything over. And we know that ain't going to happen. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much all we got to say and think about today. Thanks for leaving the comments, the super chats. Man, thanks for coming through, guys. That was some of the best super chats of the whole string we've got going here. Jeremy Ermit with this question. Patrick Krob with liking his non-wing sprint car here in the background. And then Corey Dunn with a good question on Sweet Rico, Marks, Kofoid, or Mackery and the whole High Limit roster and World Outlaw roster. It's very interesting. 5 o'clock, though, everybody. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm thinking 5 o'clock every night, 5 Central, 6 Eastern. We're going for an hour at least live. Maybe designating Tuesday night or Wednesday night as our live call-in nights. But not trying to be here 6 hours like I was last Tuesday. It wasn't worth it. It just wasn't. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to like the video, share the video, comment below what you think. As always, be sure to subscribe. Memberships are down here as well. And also, professional gas lighter shirts in this nice new blend long sleeve. It's badass. Bunch of other stuff on the website. Check it out. Link in the description below. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. And we will catch you next time.
We can ride anywhere we need to go. We can ride all night up to the morning, as long as we make the show. We can be the best, or we can be the worst. So we can be the best thing you ever heard. With the motor singing and the grandstands ringing, it's hard to put it all in words. But this is how